Hi guys, and welcome back. In this video I'm going to take you on another journey with some gear I got from the elderly chap who had the warehouse he was closing down. So in this video we'll be looking at some Kaypros, and to be specific, they are the Kaypro-10. I started with 2 and ended up with 3. They do grow, you know. But as you will see, the 2 Kaypros I got to start with were 2 very different Model 10s. So anyway, why don't you grab yourselves a drink, grab yourself something to nibble on if you want, and we'll sit back and see how we go. Hi guys, and welcome back. This is another episode in the COVID times of repairs when I were doing them, and in this one you'll find there's some very different faults with the 2 machines. So let's get ready and we'll start on with the journey, shall we? Today I decided to take a look at the Kaypros I got. These were 2 units that came in. So the first thing was to open up the first one, and I found that the keyboard plug that goes into the keyboard was broken. So I will have to replace it before I try to use it. A nice find was that when I opened the case on the first unit, it had a unit called a Handyman card. Now this I knew very little on. I'm going to have to take an image of the 3 ROMs that are on this card for safekeeping. So after having a quick look around, I decided it looks okay, I'll power it on, as it was very clean inside. It booted up and I heard the hard drive spin up, and I was thinking, awesome, at least it's starting to run. But that is where it stopped. Nothing on the screen. Bugger. Then thinking, wait a minute. That's right. They have a brightness control on the back of the case. So I had a look around and found the little knob sticking out the back of the case and adjusted it. Then, bingo, yes, we have a nice green screen with the A prompt flashing. Haha, cool. Next, I did a quick dir or directory, and it showed all the files in the main folder or the root directory. And so I found and ran the mastermenu.com file. This is something I knew. Being an old DOS user, I had an idea how to run the basic menus. Then in a few seconds up the menu came. That's good, I was thinking, and then I heard it. And then the damn, okay, I need to switch it off before anything could get any worse. And there was lots of magic smoke. Man, does this stuff stink. And it takes a long time to get rid of out of the house, I can tell you. So it looks like I'm going to have to recap the power supply. And I'm thinking, maybe I'll do both of the Kaypro-10's in days to come. One of the nice things I found with this unit is it had not been opened. And it had the original factory hard drive tag still in it. That was a find. One other thing I did notice was that the hard drive controller, which was a Western Digital, was screwed onto the side of the floppy unit. Now looking at it again, and as I said, the keyboard plug on the keyboard lead needs fixing. Sitting down and studying the add-ons, I noticed that the add-on Handyman card goes into the Kaypro's Z80 CPU socket, and then the Z80 was plugged into a socket on the Handyman card along with the card's ROMs. Also, the other thing I noticed, as it was the model Kaypro that didn't have the backup battery or the modem built into it. And it also has an empty ROM socket on the main board. Okay, so this one needs the power supply fixing. So I will put this one to one side for now. And I decided I was going to open the second Kaypro-10. And this was to see what was inside the unit. And was there any more goodies hiding for me inside? Well, that's different. Upon opening the unit and looking it over, I noticed the Kaypro-10's have different boards in them. And one of them has the modem and battery backup, while the other did not. The other thing I noticed was that one unit is all socketed chips, and the other was all soldered. Well, about 90% of them are. I will need to see what one is better than the other if I decide to keep one. The two Kaypro-10's are side by side in this picture, and this is before the power supplies were removed from the units for recapping. So looking at the two Kaypro-10's, I seem to have, and doing some research, a Kaypro-10 83 and the other a Kaypro-10 84, or a universal as it was called back then. The one thing that got me was that the 83 still had the small ROM socket but no ROM in it. I needed to do some more research on this, I told myself. So after hours of looking around online, I noticed while reading somewhere how to upgrade the ROM to the new 28-pin sockets. And this was for the 64K ROMs that the Handyman board took over with the role of a boot ROM board. And it has two 64K SRAMs on it, as well as the Z80 CPU with through pins to connect it to the main board. But other than pictures of the Handyman card, I could not find any other information about it, how to use it, or anything like that on the net. All I was able to find were old articles on the card being sold back then. So then I decided I will have to image the disc and then take a look at the text or doc files on the disc I have, if there is one or are any on them. I have both of the power supplies open and the caps all stripped out for now. I had some more time to work on the power supplies for the Kaypro-10's. After recapping of both and reassembling the Kaypro-10 83 with the Handyman add-on card in it, and I turned it on. Ta-da! Nothing at all. What the? So I decided I'll swap the other PSU in and powered it on. Ta-da! Nothing as well. What's going on here? This is what I said to myself, as you can imagine, only in stronger words. So after checking and rechecking the two power supplies, I couldn't see anything that could be a problem. Lots of head scratching and then reflowing of the capacitors and such things, but still, later on, they both were dead as dodo. There's no 12 volt or 5 volt coming out of the power supplies, but there is AC going in as the AC cooling fan works. So it must be a fault in the power supplies. So I sat down a while thinking, and then I remembered I have an old Kaypro-2 and I still have it in the back room, and it works, and I'm sure it has the same power supply in it. So off I went to have a look, and it did. So I removed the only working good power supply that I have, and is for the same model Kaypro's, and upon having a look at it, then I saw a 250 volt capacitor. This was where the issue was. One of the capacitors was mislabeled. It was labeled backwards. Damn. So the next thing I did, I desoldered the one backward capacitor and resoldered it the way around it should be. Put the first power supply back in the Kaypro-10 and bingo, we have a winner. It was all go again, just like new, but like old. You know what I mean. Looking back on it at the time, I replaced the caps, and when I did, I questioned myself if it was the right way around. I'm bloody sure I took them out, it was the other way around. And I thought, oh well, they've marked the board this way, so it must be right. Never take those things for granted. Always take note of the polarity when you take them out. It was just luck that I had one working unit that I could check out and make sure that things were the right way around. Good old Kaypro 2. The next thing I noticed was that the foam pad that is in the back behind the fan in both the Kaypros was just about not there anymore. And so I decided to replace it. I didn't have any of the type of foam they used, but I did have some hospital grade crepe bandages. This is a thicker type than the normal stuff you can buy. I decided to use this as the fan needs the airflow, and some of them you can get are very fine and would restrict it. So, as you can see, it was out with the old and in with the new filter. This is what I used, and as I didn't have any of the foam. So, I also removed and cleaned the fan and the blades, as they looked very dirty and covered in gunge. Now that looks better, I told myself, and it should do the job fine. The other thing is, I can also see when it needs cleaning or replacing, and yes, that is the back of the 1084 as well that you can see. I did both of these at the same time. Okay, so now to get back to the two systems. The 1083, I have found out that it's a Kaypro-10 version 1.9e, and it was running CPM 2.2G, and that it boots into Master Menu, which is a Kaypro hard drive menuing system. Now remember, CPM was around the beginning of DOS and was one of the major business softwares that was around. So taking a walk around the menu, it looks like this. And yes, I found Games Menu 1. And look, oh, and yes, there's even a Games Menu 2. Cool. Okay, and for all you boring people out there, a utility menu. Okay, so now one thing that had me stumped was, how do I use the Handyman card? Or could I even access it, for that fact, with no text file or no information about it, no manual or even a doc file on the net or the disks? Let's see. I'll do a little snooping around the drive. I went in and tried a DIR of the different folders. Then, hello, what's this? There are 3 handy.xxx files. I wonder if one of these is a help file. So in CPM, you use a command called type, not list like you do in DOS. So I went in and I typed type on the various files. I found one that looked like it had text in it. Okay, this looks promising. I went in and did a type of the file, and yes, it was a text file. After the file had scrolled through it at about a speed of 3000 RPM, all I saw was a blur. Bugger. Scratching my head, what's the pause command again for CPM? Damn, it's been so long now, I can't remember. So I went back and reloaded the master menu. And in the master menu, it had a help section. Let me have a look. So looking through that, down there it was, That's right, it's Control C. That stops the list. Right, now, okay, let's have another go at this. So now I'm armed with the new information. Several type handy.xxx. Later, I found the basic command I was looking for. So, to all that have the card and don't know what to do, these are the three most common commands. The first one, Control plus the leftward leaning / key. This equals starting Handyman menu. The second key, Escape. This is to exit Handyman or any of the modules. The third key is the up triangle plus the AND key. And this is to print the Handyman screen. I will scan and upload the manual to the archive files when I have time. If you quit out to the CP-M prompt and then you hold down the Control key plus the leaning backward /, you will boot up the Handyman board again. The help instructions that you can list for in the menu. I hope this helps out those whom have a Handyman and no instruction manual. Okay, so I only have the floppy drives to test now, and then the 1083 only has the missing keycap on top, which is the escape key from the keyboard. But the keyboard works fine other than that issue. The Kaypro-10 84 needs a new keyboard socket in the keyboard unit, as this is the one that is broken. Not so good news with the 1084, as it powers on and all I get is garbage on the screen, thinking it may be video RAM. The thing that's really nice about this one at the moment is that all the chips are socketed, so this should make it fairly easy. After taking some time and talking to users on our Vintage Computer forum and having an in-depth discussion on what it could be, I had some things to try. The first was try another Z80 processor. Okay, so I changed it with a good working one, and there was no difference. Number 2 was try the motherboard ROM, as it could be bad. Okay, so I changed it for the Advent 84 ROM I had. So I put this in, and at least this time I got beeps from the speaker, but nothing else. Okay, so I put the original ROM back in. The third one was try swapping your PC RAM. Now RAM was a thing I was thinking about originally. So, okay, I replaced all the 64K 1-bit RAMs with new stock I had. Powered the machine up, and bingo, up it came. Well, I'm a lot happier now than I was. But the unit won't boot from the hard drive, and the disk drive errors and says no system files when a disk is inserted. Oh well, I think that maybe the floppy drive needs a look at, and maybe a clean. As for the hard drive, it did have a note on it with no errors, so maybe it is blank, or it's been replaced and then they had this floppy drive problem with it. So who knows? As I say, how long's a piece of string? So thinking of what to do, I thought, well, I may as well try the 1083 floppy, as I know they work. So now let's see if I can get this thing to boot from a floppy disk, and then maybe try the hard drive restore software and reset up the hard drive. The next day, some sad news, but the 1084 would not read a disk at all. And so I removed and cleaned the heads and the rails. I then reinstalled the drive, powered on the 1084, but now I get power and no screen. The hard drive takes about 30 or 40 seconds to start to spin, but the floppy drive is dead as a dodo. I checked and rechecked the cables for loose wires or breaks, but still nothing. One thing I did notice is that the R6546-1 APS IC was getting rather hot, and it's the CRT controller IC chip, so maybe it's that. It could be faulty. I also wonder if the cables could be playing up too. The power and floppy drive and the hard drive going to the controller card being in not a very good condition. So I think I may replace the power cables for all these and see what happens. Well, it's not good news so far. I removed the power supply and reflowed the board to make sure it was not the problem, but still it won't boot. I then pulled the PSU from the working 2X and still no boot. The R6545 gets hot to the touch, but others chips do not. The voltages were all okay on the board. I will need to look into this more. Okay, so another day, and let's take another look at this Kaypro-10. I removed the PSU plugs and the PSU and put the original one back in. Then I plugged it all up, switched it on, and nothing. Just the power LED and the hard drive LED would come on. That's it. That's not good. So I talked to some of the guys on the Vintage Computer Forum web page, and after talking things over, I removed the motherboard and the power supply, and then I reflowed the connection on the power connectors for the power in and out on the boards. Next I plugged them back in and then checked I plugged in the motherboard, which then I turned it all on and still nothing. Damn near pulling my head out. So again I removed the motherboard, and then while doing this I was thinking, did I reflow the motherboard power connectors? Maybe not. I can't remember. So I reflowed them just in case, and I plugged it all back up and nothing. Just the two LEDs and the hard drive spinning away. That's it. So let's see if this thing works, I was thinking. And I pulled the power off of the floppy drive. I did this to see if there was a power short on the drive. Nope, still the same. What next? Okay, I'll unplug the cable and the hard drive 50-pin cable off the motherboard and test it with them off. Nope, just the same. What can this be? What next? Okay, I'll unplug the floppy cable and the hard drive 50-pin cable off the motherboard and test it with them off, just in case. Well, bingo, we have a winner. It boots up to the ROM display on the screen and no garbage on the screen at all. Right, so that's working. And now I'll plug the floppy drive cable and power cables in only, and yep, it boots up fine. Right, so it's got to be the hard drive or the hard drive controller that's got a problem and is faulty. So let's now plug in the pre-hard drive controller card only and not the hard drive controller. Go figure. It's okay, and that boots up fine. Okay, now it looks like it must be the hard drive or the hard drive controller that's gone. So let's plug in the controller without the data and control cables that go to the hard drive. And guess what? It works, and it works fine. Okay, then it's got to be the hard drive that's died, or it might be starting to die. So I plugged the controller cable in and powered it on, and nope, it is all still good. Well, it must be the hard drive then. And to prove it, I plugged the data cable and controller cable into the drive and booted it again. Well, bugger me, the bloody thing boots up now. Well, you got to love this 20-plus-year-old gear, don't you? After having that last problem, I have rebooted the system several times, and it seems fine now. Go figure. I did note the floppy drive is a little noisy, so I may need to do the bearing in the spindle. So I will look at that, but it seems to work fine for now. The only thing to do on it now is to get a replacement escape key and switch, as it was broken off and the top was lost, and to get a female phone style socket to go on the other keyboard that needs fixing. The one thing I noticed with the 1084 is it is running CPM 2.2 U1 and is version 2.01. Well, I have some good news in that I'm getting a scanned copy done of the Chilton's Kaypro repair manual. Now this is with the permission of the owner, Hayes Manuals USA. I have the email from them, and in the email this is what they say. From Mr. Anderson, I received your inquiry regarding reproducing information contained in the Chilton Kaypro computer book. In 1990, Haynes purchased the print rights to Chilton's automotive manuals. I can't say whether or not the Kaypro book would have been included in this purchase. If Haynes does in fact hold the rights to this book, I will authorize cost-free, non-commercial distribution of copies on a limited basis among your computer of vintage computer enthusiasts. With best regards, Mike Forsyth, VP, Editorial, Haynes, North America Incorporated. Well, what do you know? I got the third and last of the Kaypros today, and it's not a Kaypro 4 like I thought it was going to be, but another Kaypro-10. This one has the Advantage ROM upgrade card, and it looks like a battery on it as well. I'm not starting it up. I'll recap the unit and reflow all the plugs and connections this time. As you can see in the pictures, there is a bigger ROM and it has a jumper installed to the Z80. It is a cleanish looking machine, to say the least. Oh well, yes, I just ordered some 2200 UF 16 volt capacitors, as I have used over 20 so far. Bloody Kaypro power supplies, and guess what? I'm 4 short to do this power supply. The advert ROM board looks like it's a clock card as well, this with the battery backup. I've seen an advert and read a lot of text about them, but I've never seen one for real. I've only seen images or drawings online. Mail call! This is from the USA today. This arrived from a very kind person. This is a person I originally went down the road to get the Chilton's Kaypro book copied for. And this was kindly done by a friend of mine in the US. And we found a copy, or one of the only copies we could find, in a library in the US. And she got it out for us and bought a scanner so she could scan the manual for us. So I asked the guys to chip in to help pay for the scanner for her for what she did. And they did. This chap was so grateful, he sent me over a Kaypro keyboard complete with all its keys and caps. And I thank him very, very much. I still have the spare keyboard here now for spare parts. Well, it's been a few weeks, and look what just got dropped off to me today. 2 boxes. And what was inside? Loads of Kaypro books. So now I have more than 1 or 2 Kaypro books. And in the box, guess what was hiding? A Handyman card manual. What I've been missing. Oh, and a few other vintage gems were in there as well. Like a 8-inch disk drive head cleaning disc and sleeve. You never know in this game. Well, that's it for now, guys. So I've got the Kaypros sort of working, and I haven't finished them all. They're about 75%. So it looks like this one is going to be a part 2 if there is any interest in it. Keep tuned, because there is more coming up. I do have some Spectra video gear coming up very shortly that I'm going to be doing as well. As I always say, have a great one. Ciao.